Viewers, you're watching the Motown show, and today we are covering a very special launch, and that is the comeback of a legend. You are watching Tata Motors Sierra right here on my back. Yes, it's the 2025 that marks the rebirth of this particular legend, and look at the car right now. The car tells you and defines that, yes, of course, from those 1991 edition, the car carries the DNA of Sierra, but it is indeed a futuristic car, because not from just the outside in terms of the designing, the kind of LED, the alloy wheels and lots more, but even in the interiors you can definitely vouch out that yes, it is indeed a futuristic car. So let's tell you the top features of this Tata Motors new Sierra. So the first is indeed the design, where the retro meets the future. You get a boxy feel in this particular car. Is the full width LED that you get in, alloy wheels, and along with that, it's the panoramic sunroof. Just look at the design language. That's iconic, upright, and completely modern of car. You get a sculpted bonnet, a bold new grille with Sierra branding sitting proudly, and the sporty fog lamps that give the front a very assertive face. Move to the side and the SUV carries its clean, muscular proportions beautifully. Sharp lines, dual-tone alloys, and yes, the expansive sunroof. So let's see what's really inside the car in terms of the interiors. What are the latest offerings? So inside, Tata has taken a big leap. The Sierra features a triple screen setup, one for the driver, one for the center infotainment, and a dedicated screen for the front passenger. It immediately gives the cabin a futuristic, lounge-like feel. The dashboard is wide and minimalistic. Cabin materials feel premium, and you can clearly see the focus on comfort and tech. Ventilated seats, connected features, dual-zone AC, everything placed in a very calming, modern layout. It's genuinely one of Tata's most advanced interiors yet. Yes, definitely the car speaks for itself, and as you can see, it's the 19-inch alloy wheel that the car has in this particular vehicle. The cabin space is actually quite very good, and even the boot space looks quite very spacious. So in terms of the length, the Sierra really impresses. Even though it's a 5-seater, the proportions give you a sense of a much larger, almost 7-seater-like SUV. The long wheelbase and a wide body add that strong stance, and even from outside you can clearly see how airy the cabin feels. A generous second row, a lounge-style openness, and a big boot area that instantly tells you it's made for long family trips. The overall presence is bold, confident, and extremely practical. And this is the back of the car, where you get to see those edges right there. You get to see a Tata logo, and yes, it's the full width LED that is at the back as well. The rear of the Sierra keeps the design clean and confident. Wide surfaces, sharp edges, and a robust tailgate that looks solid and functional. This is the Sierra branding, and the squared rear haunches give it that muscular, planted look. From every angle, front, side or rear, the Sierra carries a very distinctive, modern character that stands out instantly. So joining us today is Tata Motors' creative mastermind, who is leading Tata Motors' new bold design era. Let me welcome Mr. Martin Uhlarik, who is the Vice President and Global Head Design of Tata Motors. And Martin, so good having you on the channel today. So from 2020, where the first teaser was launched, to 2025, I'm sure the journey must have been exciting. But Martin, let's take it back to 1991, because that's when, Tata Motors as a car was very bold on the Indian roads. So firstly, why don't you help us understand that from 1991 Sierra to this new Sierra, what are some of the common points that you didn't want it to touch in this new form?
Yeah, so when we decided to revive this iconic nameplate, I looked at the original car, and obviously as a design, as a product, immediately it was easy to understand. Very simple design, very graphical. But more than anything, everybody I talked to would tell me with a lot of nostalgia, it was such a special car. But with nostalgia, you always remember only the good things. You edit out any negative factors. And then I started to look at like car clubs and people who really see this vehicle as a cult car. What was it about the DNA of this original Sierra that made it so iconic? It wasn't so much like the design or the typology. I mean, that had a factor to play, but it was what it represented. Like anything, a movement or a good design, it becomes an avatar. So what did the original Sierra represent? Back then in 1991 in India, what people would tell me, first of all, it stood out on the road. The road was a sea of small cars, hatchbacks, older vehicles, and all of a sudden you had this, SUV, DNA presence from an Indian company. So it was homegrown. So it represented a kind of like, we can do this as well, from an India factor. And it, an SUV always represents a certain lifestyle. It has a certain freedom. So in many ways, it's a platform that I can go anywhere. Anything is possible. And then, like I said, it was a kind of a lifestyle vehicle. It had this very iconic panorama roof. If you sat in the rear of it, it was all glass. So it was a combination of like a practical car, which back then, most vehicles people would buy were because of price and practicality. But in many ways, it was the first lifestyle vehicle in India. And so it already had a DNA. So when we decided to revive it, I mean, we as a company were circling this type of vehicle already for a couple of years. And we had a number of design proposals. And then we had the idea is, what if we took this Sierra DNA and applied it to a new vehicle, capture the spirit of the original, and from an exterior or from a design point of view, I didn't want to make it retro. So it's always forward-looking. The original was forward-looking, so this new one has to be forward-looking as well. In many ways, I'm creating future nostalgia.
Oh, that's great to hear. But in terms of the latest nostalgia that we have, it was then in 2020 where the first car was teased. And even that I remember during those Auto Expo shows, there was so much of excitement about like, yes, Sierra is coming back.
Yes, I mean, we had the idea to revive the name in 2019. Obviously, it takes a couple of months to prepare a concept car, which we showed in 2020. But you will recall, it's a very different design, has different proportions, different design DNA. But the main thing, the main takeaway from that was when we unveiled the car, I remember the car was under a blanket and then somebody was saying like the return of a legend. And the audience, there was this swell of like cheering and everything before the car was even unveiled. I think nobody even remembers the design, to be honest. That's not even important. The main thing was that the name was back. And that gave everybody the confidence that there is actually a currency to revive this name. And then, of course, we went through a whole phase of, different platforms, different design directions. There's a lot of rejected designs. We went down a lot of blind alleys. The car was short, long, wide, different wheelbases, different platforms. And then finally in 2023, we settled on this design direction. And then, of course, to productionize a design, we had the concept in 2023, but as you'll see with the production car, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between the concept and the production now. And that was the real work.
All right, but Martin, now let's talk about the futuristic aspects.
Yes.
Like you said, and we have already seen bits and pieces that all you want to have that in. Talk to us about that. What really drove that?
Yeah, I mean, good design is always driven by technology. It's always forward-looking. So for me, it was obviously capturing the iconic, maybe spirit essence, 2 lines on the exterior that describe a Sierra. I should be able to draw the car with 2 lines, and you should be able to identify that it's a Sierra. The litmus test is also, I should be able to take the badges off the car, the Tata badges, but also the Sierra name, the word mark, and I should be able to drive it down the road, and everybody should know what it is, without being told what it is. So design should be pretty self-explanatory. And then from a technology point of view, whether it's the lights, the DRL, it's a single-piece DRL, which is amazing achievement. Not just for Tata, but from a global point of view, benchmarking-wise. I'll bet you there's going to be companies, from China to Europe to North America that are going to be looking at how did they do that. Whether it's the glass, if you look at the rubber seal on the window, to achieve this sort of flush look. You know, everything, it should look like a consumer electronic device on 4 wheels. It should look like a digital device that's, you know, an analog SUV. So in many ways, it has to achieve that on the interior, the fit and finish, the coast-to-coast screen. You know, everywhere, you know, the technology has to drive the design forward. It's not just, you know, heritage and retro. It's not just styling, that's for sure.
No, indeed, but even the interiors, I was looking that there's a 3-screen that you
Yes.
are offering,
Yes.
and along with that, so many futuristic features. Why do you think that now is the time wherein Indian customers, or maybe since it's a global launch,
Yes.
what's really driving that futuristic aspects, and what more can be done?
People have a huge appetite for technology. I think sometimes, you know, even a car company can just barely keep up with the pace of change. You know, we're seeing like how technology is coming, you know, every month. And so when we offer a vehicle, you know, the interior, we call it a living room, a living space. You know, interior design is now an experience. It's no longer just like I'm sitting in a car. You know, okay, the driver is driving and the other people are going from A to B, but they're spending time in the vehicle. So how are they spending time? You have to offer comfort, you have to offer entertainment. For me, the Sierra is a big part of the glass. You know, it has an unbelievable amount of visual see-through aspect. So it's like the vista, the journey you're on. But then the coast to coast is a digital vista. So it's coast to coast. And it's not just for the driver. You know, before the screen was for the driver, speed, how much fuel I have, maybe navigation. And then the center screen was still very much driver orientated. So it gave, you know, infotainment information. But now we're going like, well, you know, the other passengers can't be second-class citizens.
But there was also a safety aspect that people
Yes, that's right.
to.
But we found a solution where you can still accommodate the airbags and the clearance and the visibility, but still offer this technology. So, you know, nowadays people are 24/7 digital creatures. So you can't have any disruption even when you're in the vehicle.
So Martin, we are in India, and I can clearly see the XP in talks with so many other players. So help us with the excitement with respect to the Sierra Global Across, and which market do you believe will be the best? Because I can see that the SUV drive in India is indeed in the fast lane. Everybody wants to have an SUV, and especially the excitement about Sierra. But are the people really excited about Sierra as much in the global markets, and which are they?
Definitely. Like you said, I travel a lot. You know, design is an international business. And the Sierra obviously has been teased, and, you know, we've seen it. First, it's being recognized as a benchmark product already. It won the Red Dot Design Award, which is the highest design award that you can win internationally. So that's a recognition from the design community. And I know that from other people in other automotive companies, the Sierra is on most image boards, you know, in their design studios as a reference point. And I know that other companies are looking at the product from an execution point of view. You know, a car of this price to that level of execution, fidelity, quality, and just everything like that. And the other thing is, you know, everybody, if you look now in the automotive industry internationally, it's hard to find a bad car. You know, the level of competition is very high. So the real differentiator is authenticity and emotion. And the Sierra, because it has this identity, it has character, it has a personality, that will cross over any other. Like, you know, it's a capable car, it's a very high-tech product, it's a very well-finished product. That's good, but everybody offers that. So that's the USP of the Sierra, is the spirit and the emotion and the authenticity. And that crosses any border internationally.
No, indeed. But Martin, you only touched on the pricing. I'm sure today is not the day. But can Sierra have an aggressive pricing?
Oh, you'll see on the 25th, I'm sure. You'll be surprised with that.
All right, Martin, so good having you on the channel today. Thank you so much for your time, and all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.